I'm very excited to be here, particularly among all of the business leaders in this community. I want to kind of give you my name. It's Tom Best. I think you've heard that quite a few times. I do want to say this is an error. It's not Thomas A. This is A.T. I'm A.T. Best, okay? It's Adolphus Thomas Best. I should appreciate it. Some of you know, some of you don't know. I came here in 1983 with IBM as an brand new IBM manager. And my wife was a school teacher, and she had to move up real fast, so I think the Pitt County Schools hired her just as fast as IBM had hired me to move up here. And we made this our home. We've been here for 30 years, and we are very proud to be in Greenville, and we enjoy it very much. And I look around, I see a few familiar faces, but a lot of you are new from back in those days. But I, too, served on the chamber and worked for the chamber. Many of those individuals have moved on, I think. I had the opportunity to retire early in my career, and I completed a full 30 years, with IBM. But in that period of time, I worked in the Triangle as an engineer after graduating from NC State. And also I went to Chicago, Illinois to work with the IBM marketing force. They asked me to join that after a year and a half of being an engineer in the facility at the Research Triangle Park. And from there I went and joined a headquarters location in Atlanta, Georgia, where I worked in development for a while doing programming. So I've done quite a few different things. And then I worked in a staff position where I had the North American continent as my territory. And that's where we worked with competitive analysis. You may remember some of the companies back in those times, Wayne, a few others, Burroughs, some of them not around anymore. IBM is still standing and doing very, very well. But that's my background as far as business. And the key thing to know there, though, is I worked with every type of business I think known, every type. I've had experience with every business, large and small, and from national businesses to international business. So I have that background, and that's my culture. And this is something that I wanted to share with you. This is something that IBM, if I put it in the right pocket, would hand out to all the employees. It's a little think pad. That was something that Tom Watson Sr., the founder of IBM, used to always remind us to do, is think. And we had something called, this is a little book, it said respect for the individual, customer service, and excellence. That's the culture that I come from IBM. I'm going to always respect all individuals, and customer service is something that I understand is still very important to me. It's something I provide, and always be excellent at anything that you do, So I feel very confident in taking on this awesome responsibility of being your mayor for Greenville. Now, let me give you a little background. And we have a council manager government. Okay, a council manager government, not a mayor council government. That's a big difference, and I respect that difference. And that's why many people, several business leaders have asked me, and some elected officials have asked me to run, okay, for mayor. Keep in mind, I'm coming out of retirement to serve and represent each citizen in this city, all people. And that includes the business community. It doesn't exclude any group at all. I'll be very supportive of everything, and everything I want to see, everything continue to move very rapidly and move forward just as much. I'll even work with the realtors and all the groups. I own real estate, okay, also I own vacant land, and I also own rental properties. So I recognize some of the issues that you've been hearing about, and I know some of the concerns that many of you have. Now, I've been going into homes, and people have been expressing a lot of concerns. But I want you to know that I'm going to be supportive of everyone, and I'm particularly happy to be here today. And I believe the time is up now. Okay, thank you.
Tom and I were joking a little bit before we came up here. At some point, we probably can give each other a stump speech. We hear it so much. So he almost did the Alan Thomas version. I almost did the Tom Best version. But I appreciate having you all here today. And I joked with Phil Dixon a bit. It seems like we were just here a minute ago. 2 years ago goes by so fast in so many ways. But then again, a lot has changed in 2 years. But I think first I'd like to kind of go back and talk about, to refresh how I got here and our background, getting involved here in city government. I'm a family man, and I'm a small business owner. I'm a father of 3. I have a daughter, Ava, who is 8, a very rambunctious 3rd grader, as you can imagine what 3rd grade is like. You remember? Also a 5-year-old, Holly, who is in kindergarten and has an interesting question for me every day. So I get challenged not just as mayor and at work, but also every time I go home. And the other surprise, while serving in city council, we have a rambunctious 1-year-old named Chase Thomas, who is 14 months, and he just started walking last week, so please pray for me. So it's a wonderful environment. My wife, Janet, does an incredible job. God bless her for putting up with me. She's a working mom. She travels all over Eastern North Carolina, but extremely supportive. And she was an East Carolina graduate. And I called her coming in as a freshman, and I was leaving as a senior. So I think I had a little bit of an advantage. But I'm an East Carolina graduate. I was student body president here many years ago. I'm not going to say how long ago. And while serving as student body president, I had the unique honor of working with Nancy Jenkins, who was the mayor of Greenville at that time, who was Leo Jenkins' wife, and she was just a wonderful, wonderful person. Learned so much from her. That's when I first really became curious about, the city of Greenville and how all this thing works. I'd been in student government, but the way she pulled us in and integrated the university individuals with the city was very appreciative. And it always had me very involved in, what could we do in the local government. I come from a family of very involved individuals. Father who served in the Senate, brother who served in the House and the Senate. My mother is currently on the school board. And so it's something, service is something that I've always thought was very important. I know we get so busy every day in our work lives, and we're trying to make ends meet and get things going, and that's so important. But we can't forget to step back, just like having you here today is so important, to be engaged in the inner workings of our city, because so many times on the state level and the local level, we look back and things have happened and we're engaged, and we weren't there to be able to lift our voice and get involved. Back on track, I was an undergraduate, graduated here at East Carolina. Went and got my master's and my MBA at UNC Chapel Hill. And after that, a good friend of mine, a fellow ECU graduate, an entrepreneur in technology, we came together and collaborated on a new company called IQ Max, and we started it in my extra bedroom, as sometimes how new companies start. And so pleased with being able to grow that. We started with one hospital client in Asheville, of all places. And over a period of time, we grew that company to over 160 hospitals in 36 states, and we process around 15 million patient records a day. So I know a good deal about building a business. I know a good bit about how to, be involved in that day-to-day, because I ran the business, and he was out doing operations, and I knew what it was like to meet payroll. But prior to taking on that position, and after finishing my undergrad at ECU, I had a very unique opportunity. I had a governor that let me come in and intern for a semester. And that was a life-changing experience because it introduced me to the Department of Revenue, to Commerce, to the governor's office, so many areas, and ended up taking a position with the Department of Commerce for the state of North Carolina. And what I did for Commerce is recruit international business to North Carolina. And I worked with local governments. I worked with the Greensboros, the Charlottes, the Greenvilles, the Newberns, all across the state. And I was able to compare and contrast what is being done well, what cities are lagging behind, who are involved, how are they bringing business and opportunity to their community. So from that experience, and after going back to grad school, I have offered consulting services for close to 20 years, helping companies to walk through the government maze process and being able to advocate and work with government, which I think is extremely, extremely important. Service here in Greenville, I was hired by the university as part of that process in Purple Alert to help create a Purple Alert when we were trying to advocate together to bring funds for the heart hospital from the legislature. And thanks to ECU's great efforts, we were able to do that. So following up on that, I was asked, why don't you get involved in a board? And that's where they get you. I got involved with the Board of Adjustments, served on that for a number of years, got involved with the Planning and Zoning, and was elected chairman by my peers. And lo and behold, a change in government, an opportunity to run for mayor. And I've been very excited to serve for the past 2 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. And just for the sake of time, with the question and answer session, I would ask that everyone hold their applause until the conclusion of our presentation today, and then we'll certainly give both candidates a big round of applause. Our first question this is a 1-minute question, will be for Mr. Thomas, and it concerns the town common agreement. The property making up the town common is a valuable and unique tract of land within our inner city. Do you feel its present state represents its highest and best use? If so, please explain why, and if not, what changes would you propose to enhance and maximize its potential?
Thank you. This is an item that came up over the past year, discussing the different uses of our city, and something that we need to be clear about, because I think there's been a lot of misinformation about that area. The town commons has always been an area that has been sacred in Greenville. The history, I'm a student of history, and that once was a neighborhood. Families lived there. They literally, there were homes that stretched out over the water that they would fish out of. They used to build boats there around the last turn of the century. That is an area to be respected as a park area. You can always enhance your parks with best practices of how parks are utilized all across the country, which is what we need to do. That 1st Street to 3rd Street corridor is the area of emphasis for growth and opportunity for this city along that area. But that's an area of Park Place that needs to be protected, tied into our waterfront greenway systems and our Blueway, which we're working on to be able to incorporate our water areas. But once and forever, as long as I'm here, that's going to be a beautiful and cherished park area.
Thank you. Mr. Best, do you feel that the town common's present state represents its highest and best use? If so, please explain why, and if not, what changes would you propose to enhance and maximize its potential?
Thank you. In 2009, I think there was a study by the city and the people of the city that developed a plan for that park, which keeps it as a park. And I support that plan. It involves, expanding it, like particularly in the waterways, having access for canoes and kayaking, and improving that ramp. Actually put bathrooms in the area, rebuild the pavilion that we have, and also landscaping. And I would support that plan. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but it's a plan that was developed in 2009, and I would keep it. It's pretty much the park is a park. It just enhances it as a park. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will first go to Mr. Best, and it concerns the staff and employees of the City of Greenville. What is your assessment of staff and employee satisfaction at the City of Greenville, and what can you do as mayor to make the City of Greenville an attractive place to work?
Thank you. It's a good question. Employee morale is always an issue that you have to focus on. The primary thing that I would be doing is not micromanaging. I would respect the city management position. And the city manager is the CEO of this city, not the mayor. And for me, I'm not running for city manager, I'm running for city mayor, okay? So anytime the elected officials begin to micromanage staff, you're going to impact morale, and that can be a concern, okay? I've received a lot of feedback from others that are talking to those staff members, and there's some very significant concerns. So this is when I was talking about the council manager. Okay, this is the kind of environment we have. The CEO of Greenville is the city manager. The council hires the city manager. The city manager hires the staff. Of course, we also hire the attorney and the clerk. It's primarily those 3 positions. Okay.
Mr. Thomas, what is your assessment of staff and employee satisfaction in the city, and what can you do as mayor to make the City of Greenville an attractive place to work?
Well, I had a unique experience. The very day we were elected, November 5th, that next day we had a walkout of staff. We had a large contingent of city staff in sanitation, and there was almost an incident with the police force. And if it hadn't been for a few comm heads and some council members that came in and helped serve as a go-between, we could have had literally a very difficult and embarrassing situation involving city staff. I am very proud of the fact of how that was handled and responded. We brought citizen leaders in that got involved with that and came in, and now sanitation's on a 5-year transition plan. We have more sanitation employees in the city of Greensboro. That had to change. Now we've gone to a modern system, and we've got employees where not one person is being displaced, they're all finding new jobs. But I will say this about working with council member manager. First thing I did when I decided to run for office is I called Wayne Bowers, and I asked him about different issues and what I needed to do. And I know that Barbara Lipscomb sent out a letter to every candidate that was running for every office, and her response is not a single candidate has called her to find out anything about what's going on in this city, and I think that's a shame.
Our next question will begin with Mr. Thomas, and it's the question that you certainly knew you were going to receive today. What is your one top priority item for attracting businesses or facilitating the expansion of existing business to enhance job creation in Greenville?
You know that's my favorite topic. Economic development is in my blood, and it was the first thing we did and we took action on here in Greenville in coming in office, and we had to provide a sophisticated approach. What I did is we talked with Ron Kimball and Charlotte and some other areas, and we said, how can we redirect this? And there was pushback on council. There were a couple of council members who voted against this, actually. Said it would cost $250,000 to $1 million to do economic development. But we didn't listen to that. We knew that we had to be a partner. The county's on board. The chamber's been on board. We've seen great growth in putting infrastructure here in economic development. We've put the vital tools that allow downtown to start to expand. We have over $300 million in new jobs, growth, and investment in this city. And also we're going back with OneSource and other existing companies and finding out how can we help them expand. So being engaged in economic development and growth in this city is absolutely fundamental if we're going to continue to grow. We have to have a vibrant downtown, and all of our business corridors have to be engaged. So we're working very hard to do that, and I'm proud we got a lot of work left to do.
Mr. Best, what is your one top priority item for attracting businesses and facilitating the expansion of existing businesses to enhance job creation in Greenville?
Well, governments, of course, in the city, we don't create jobs, but we do create the climate for our businesses to flourish and to grow. And I would continue to be supportive of everything that we have done years ago and are doing today. All of it, you know, for 30 years that I've been here, this city has been growing very rapidly all the time. And there's nothing that I would do to stop or in any way, you know, slow down. I'd actually like to probably go a little faster than we're going right now. And so it'd be, you know, always be supportive of all the businesses that want to grow. And you know, I just want you to know that's my background. I understand what businesses need, and we're very fortunate to be in Greenville right now with the support of ECU and Pitt Community College and the Vidant Medical Center. That makes this area a magnet for anyone that wants to come here and anyone that we go out and solicit to bring here. Thank you.
For our next question, we'll begin with you, Mr. Best. What relationships do you have at the state or federal government level that Greenville can draw upon if in need of help on an issue involving other levels of government?
That's a very good question. First off, I would depend upon the relationship that any mayor, you know, in any city would, you know, the respect that you would receive from your local representatives. Fortunately, in our area, we have many representatives that we would work with. You know, we don't have just one. We have this area is probably the most popular area that we seem to be crisscrossing and cut up by. You know, we have 2 representatives in Washington and I think 4 or 5 for the state. So you know, we would all work together with them. I would also depend upon the professional staff of the city. If I had an issue, I would look to them, of course, you know, to have that relationship as well. Again, it's going to be, you know, the way I see everything is the chairman is the mayor, the board is the council, and the CEO is the city manager. And that's the way I would respect this process to go, and that's who I would always depend on very much, the city staff.
Mr. Thomas, what relationships do you have at the state and federal government level that Greenville can draw upon if in need of help on an issue involving other levels of government?
Kind of a timely question. I actually just got back from Hickory late last night, and Paul Meyer, who is the chief legislative aide with the North Carolina League of Municipalities, actually asked me to come up on behalf of Greenville and speak as a keynote speaker to the entire league for the whole state on the great job we did this past legislative session dealing with the threat to Greenville utilities. And I can't say enough about Tony Cannon, their efforts, and also our legislative delegation. Brian Brown is here, and Lewis Pate, and Don Davis, and Gene Farmer Butterfield, and Susan Martin. They wanted me to speak about the great job we do down here working together, because it's their belief that their mayors, as he put it, needs to know the name of the dog of the senator in their district. They need to know Tom Apodaca where he likes to fish. They need to know where Tom Tillis likes to go on vacation. And they gave great feedback, and we're very appreciative of the work we did. We were in danger of losing a part of our utility this summer. We were told on the House side that literally just go along with it. We'll give you a handshake, and next year we'll come back and we'll figure it out. But our legislative delegation didn't accept that. I came up and talked to Tom Apodaca. We all worked together, and we were able to avoid that serious threat. You have to have leadership and be involved in the state level these days. You cannot back down and be passive, or you'll be left by and lose a lot of opportunity.
Our next question will begin with you, Mr. Thomas. What do you envision being the next steps for the City of Greenville's Economic Development Office? Is it being utilized to its fullest potential?
Being that we just began the office a year and a half ago, I think it's only scratching the surface. And again, we started that by, instead of hiring 15 new employees, we redirected some existing resources we had, and working with Wanda Uhas in the county, we integrated quickly with their efforts and tried to fill in where we could provide value. The results have been instantaneous. We've seen a message sent. There are so many projects right now I wish I could tell you about. I'm so excited about. There's a few, the DNA Forensics Lab and so many others that we're excited that we've been able to bring here in a very short period of time. We have much more work to do in economic development. What we're doing now is building out our grid of infrastructure, an analytical analysis of every part of this city, so as any business that we can go and recruit, we can provide them traffic studies, employment data, workforce preparedness, try to tie this all in with PCC, the education component, the employment component. What I'm doing is comparing Greenville now, not with Kinston, but I'm comparing them now with, cities in near Seattle, Washington, and near St. Louis and other areas that we know are best practices, and being able to bring that out to be competitive on a national and global level.
Mr. Best, what do you envision being the next steps for the City of Greenville's Economic Development Office, and is it being utilized to its fullest potential?
It certainly sounds like it is, and I'd be, continue to be supportive of all the activity that the city staff is doing now, and I would be right there with them, working just as aggressive and as supportive as I can. Okay, I feel very comfortable working with any future opportunities and businesses, but you need to be proactive at all times. So there's nothing's going to change. I know some of you may be fearing change, but nothing's going to change with respect to that. I also have friends in other places, and one thing that I'd like to see is something that we have in Durham. I'm from Durham, and very close to to things they've done. They've have something very special called the DPAC, which is Durham Performing Arts Center. That's something I know that ECU and others, would like to partner with this city and have. And I would certainly bring some friends that have actually are behind the scenes and made that happen. They would come here and help this city, consider that. I think that would be an excellent addition to our city. Thank you.
Our next question concerns city occupancy rules, and we'll begin with you, Mr. Best. What is your view of the more than 3 unrelated rule? And do you support the expansion of the rule to any other areas of Greenville?
Okay. In 2004, I chaired the Neighborhood Preservation Task Force, appointed by the City Council. Now, we weren't specifically focused on the 3 unrelated rule, but that was an issue that had been decided by the council as an ordinance in 1981. So in 2004, what we were focused on with the landlords. This was 15 people from the city. Basically, all of us owned property, and they wanted us to discuss among ourselves and make some recommendations back to council about how we can maintain the quality of the neighborhoods. And we're talking about specifically single-family neighborhoods, because particularly over in on the Truna area across the street from East Carolina University, there were some concerns that rental houses were not being maintained. A lot of those houses were owned by LLCs and people outside of the city. So that's what our focus was mainly, to try to come up with a way to improve that. Now, the 300 related rule was discussed, and I would revisit that rule. I feel like the way that was pushed down on top of the people in that neighborhood to make that change was wrong. It was forced on them, and I don't think that I would not want to see that replicated throughout the city. And that's, I understand, the mayor has said that he would, it's a model for the rest of the city. I don't think any of us want more people unrelated living across the street from us in our houses. I want to preserve the neighborhoods. I'm all for home ownership. Thank you.
Mr. Thomas, what is your view of the 3 unrelated rule, and do you support the expansion of the rule to any other areas of Greenville?
I do not support the expansion of this to any other areas of the city. How much clearer can you get than that? And that was never the intent from the beginning. We were approached because on our campus edge, an area that I lived as a student, that I felt comfortable walking at 10 or 11 or 12 at night, that we had members of sororities and families that were scared to walk once it turned dark. We had gang activity moving in on Meade and Stancil, a couple blocks from campus. My law enforcement tactical units were having to set up shop blocks from campus dealing with criminal activity they'd never seen on the campus edge. We had drive-by shootings on Rotary Street. Scared individuals showed me bullet holes over their door frames. A guy got shot in the leg. They were so brazen they came back twice. And in terms of does the neighborhood support this, this is the entire neighborhood. Every red house indicates a house that signed in favor of supporting this initiative for this neighborhood. This was always about protecting our university neighborhood. It was always about protecting this certain area. And sometimes you got to be brave and stand up, and even when you got a loud minority that want to express things. And I've got a petition here of over 1,000 signatures that live in that neighborhood that want that area to be adjusted. What are you supposed to do as a city council? Do you ignore those people? That's 87% of that neighborhood, so we did the right thing there. I look forward to that continue to improve. It's not perfect. No plan is ever perfect, but there's 70 neighborhoods in the city. We spent a lot of time talking about one. We need to start focusing on every neighborhood in the city.
For our next question, we'll address it first to you, Mr. Thomas. What do you see as the single greatest challenge facing the city of Greenville right now? And what's your plan to address it?
I think it's a combination of things that begin with some of our emphasis that we talked about in running for office 2 years ago. It began with leadership on crime, growth, and fiscal responsibility. And all of that is interactive. I think continuing to create job opportunities, expanding job opportunities in this city is extremely important. Is extremely important. That ties into crime and opportunity. There's things that we need to do across this city to be able to bring opportunity, not just in the uptown area and not certain areas. That's why we created 6 economic development zones across this city. That's why we created the urban progress zone where we can get tier 1 money, Wanda, in certain parts of our city, which is unheard of just this first year. That's why we're looking at creating education incubators in the roughest area of our city so people can walk and get a GED, so a single mom can go learn something, so not putting them in desperate situations. I think there's an underpinning here that we need to continue to work when it comes to dealing with that. And having a wonderful new police chief who's not just a police chief but a friend to every neighborhood, that assigns an officer to every neighborhood, you know their name and their number, with Chief Aiden is a wonderful, wonderful kickoff to that. Very excited about it.
Mr. Best, what do you see as the single greatest challenge facing the city of Greenville right now, and what is your plan to address it?
The challenge is, unfortunately, crime. I've been invited to an event that's going to occur in a couple of weeks where specifically, it involves all of us, but this is an African-American organization that's invited me not to come and talk about or give them solutions, but just to listen this is the, they're coming together themselves to try to solve their crime, and we certainly, and both sides, all of us, every neighborhood probably needs to do exactly that. We all need to come together, because everywhere I've been in this city, I've heard about issues with crime, and it's been a problem more so than I remember in the past, and part of it, I'm sure, is our growth. But I consider that a very, very important, problem. And if you open the paper today, it was almost a whole page of crime of all kinds, So I think that's a very significant thing that we need to focus on, and I certainly will work with the communities. I feel like we need to learn from them and listen to them, because we've tried a lot of things, but also very supportive of our current police chief. Thank you.
And we will conclude, Mr. Best, with the last question for you, and it's a softball, both of you gentlemen, to conclude. What do you believe is your single greatest strength that sets you apart and makes you the best candidate for mayor of Greenville?
Well, what I intend to bring to Greenville, of course, is civility and transparency at all times, and also the business ethics that I have just been drilled into my head from IBM. It was every year you had to focus on that, and that's the way I'll conduct myself at all times as mayor of Greenville. I have the intellect, I have the ability to work with groups of people and arrive at consensus, and I have something that's very special that I focus on when I'm working with groups, and this is what we did with that task force with 15 people that were very strong in their opinions and personalities. Is I work very hard to develop what I call collective wisdom of the group, instead of using unilateral thinking, my way, the highway. And this is something that I'll bring. These are tools that I've learned from IBM and also learned when I served in the United States Army. And so I feel very comfortable at providing the leadership that this city deserves. Thank you.
Mr. Thomas, what do you believe to be your single greatest strength that sets you apart and makes you the best candidate for mayor of Greenville?
Well, everybody has a plan to get elected until they meet 6 very strong real council members that are elected across this city. Now, I think that's something every mayor aspires to, but they're also elected, and they also are there to represent their district. So you have to find ways to bring them together collectively. In terms of a trait, I think it would be the ability to find ways to get things done. And I think that's very important in this day and age. So many times people run for office and they'll give you a whole list of things that they intend to do and make many promises. But I think it's been a refreshing period, I think, in Greenville, that we've been able to actually go out, get involved across the city in so many key areas, and make progress in economic development on a real level. Look at downtown. That didn't happen by accident. Now, we have some wonderful projects there that were part of collectively working together. The project there at Georgetown, for example, the principals of that project made it very clear that we couldn't have done this without the economic tools that you brought here in the past year and a half. But being able to be engaged and pulling people together, I think, is something that's an attribute. And at the end of the day, it's about not talk, but about the ability to get things done.
Thank you, gentlemen. At this point, each candidate will have the opportunity to present a 2-minute closing statement. And Mr. Best, you will go first.
Thank you. First, I want to thank all of you for coming today and listening to us and being so quiet and patient. We see a few nods and a few smiles, and we see a lot of serious faces out here. It's always interesting. I'm very humbled and very pleased to have the support of individuals that have been leaders, are leaders in this community. And I'm going to give you some of them. Now, some of them you've read about and heard about. One of them is Eddie Smith, chairman of and CEO of Great White Boats. He put a letter in the paper. I was very humbled to even see that. And his concern is my concern, how we lost some of probably the strongest talent we've ever had in this city, particularly with Wayne Bowers. We were very disappointed to see him leave. And as I understand it, when the mayor takes the bull by the horns, the city manager does leave. And that's exactly what happened. And followed by the city manager were many others. Keep in mind, this is a council manager city government, not a mayor council. It's a big difference, guys. And right now, unfortunately, we have a mayor council process. We need to show respect to our city manager, and the city manager manages the staff, not the mayor and not the council members. And that's a very important thing to learn about our government. And I'll certainly respect that. Some other supporters, Dr. Tom Irons, Don Parrott, former mayor, Earl Brown, attorney, and Mickey Parrott, one of the excellent businessmen that's been here forever. Of course, Don Parrott tells me he's still looking for a dividend from Mickey because of the Parrott name, but it doesn't come. At any rate, and many others, I look around this room, and I won't name you since I haven't asked you if I may, but I feel very humbled by the support that I have from many business people right here in this room, and also from some dear friends. I ask you for the vote, and I ask you to support the best mayor for Greenville campaign. Thank you.
Mr. Thomas, your closing statement.
I also ask you to support the best mayor for Greenville, and that's me. So I would appreciate your vote. And yeah, we can get up here in the name-dropping name deal if you want to, but I think it's important to talk about our vision and what we can do for the city. And what I've still yet to hear, and this has been the third debate that Tom and I have had, I've yet to hear a single initiative from him. Anything that he's going to do to help continue our progress in this city. At some point, you have to get past the slogans that we've seen in some of these ads and some of the manufactured letters and things we've seen that have been quite negative. And that's the one thing that I do want to mention here today. We need to be on a positive track in this city. We have great progress going on in economic development. We've invested in our roads. We're getting our infrastructure and things, so many things in the right track. We have got an energetic staff that came on board. I wouldn't trade Barbara Lipscomb for anyone at this point with her energy. She was a unanimous choice of Calvin Mercer, Dennis Mitchell, every member of council. They came in with her. Wayne Bowers was a wonderful leader, but Wayne decided to move on, and I respect him for that. But we have to go with what we have. Without change, you don't have a Hassan Aden, or you don't have new leaders across council. Things change and things move forward. We're moving from 2013 to 2020. We're going to have over 100,000 people in this city. Becoming passive is not the solution. Now, I mentioned earlier that our staff is very involved in every aspect of what we're doing to move forward. They are leading the development. The mayor does not have a vote when it comes to city council. Council members vote, but the mayor's role is to try to do so many things to support the council and also be this advocate that brings opportunity to the city. I've worked very hard. I put my heart and soul into this for the past 2 years to be a positive and a visible presence. But it is a team effort. You've seen the progress. You can see it around the city. And I really want your support so we can continue that going. Now is not the time to step back. We need to continue moving forward. I'm a business person. I'm a family man. Every day I wake up with a 1-year-old staring at me, and I'm scared to death what his future is going to be like in this city. So my motivation is clear every day. It's not about rolling the clock back. It's what that life's going to be like in 20 years for your family and my family. That's what motivates me every day. And I want to continue to bring that passion here to Greenville for as long as you'll have me. Thank you.
Thank you to both of these gentlemen. If we could give them a big round of applause.